Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Grace Holland. 6 years after 13-year-old Hania Aguilar was found murdered.
Justice for the family of 13-year-old Hania Aguilar.
Her killer, Michael McLellan, pled guilty. It was a long-awaited day for her family.
But I have a little bit more peace today now that I know that justice has been served.
As a judge sentenced him to life in prison. But the story didn't end there. Deputies say he tried to escape twice Friday.
In his first attempt to escape, Michael McLellan tried to break out of his handcuffs on the way to the Robeson County Courthouse, but the key got stuck. His second attempt happened on his way back to Central Prison when a second key worked, but he was eventually subdued.
WRAL's Chelsea Donovan has been looking into how he almost pulled it off and how deputies were able to stop him. Chelsea, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we don't want the victim here to get lost. Can you tell me a little bit about who Hania Aguilar was?
Yeah, it's very sad. She was a middle school student out of Lumberton, which is, just a little bit south of Raleigh, down 95. And we know that she was abducted from her house right in her driveway back in 2018. Police said that Michael McLellan forced her into a relative's idling SUV and then drove away with her. She was just in 8th grade and, her body was found a short time after on a rural road in Robeson County. The car that she was picked up in was abandoned about 10 miles from the house.
Hania's mother spoke with us through an interpreter, remembering the things she loved most about her daughter.
Her presence, her energy, her smile.
We had been talking about her quinceañera. She wanted a yellow dress, but instead that December she had a funeral and she was buried in a yellow dress.
And it was just later with a DNA match they were able to link her violent kidnapping and death to Michael McLellan, who was originally charged in this kidnapping and murder.
It's been 6 years since her death and his arrest, and now he entered this plea. He pleaded guilty to killing her. What do we know about these attempted escapes Friday that happened around him going to court?
Yeah, so this is pretty crazy in the fact that he tried to escape, not once, but twice. And so basically what happened is he was picked up by Robeson County deputies around 5 o'clock Friday morning from Central Prison, where he's been housed for the past 6 years. They had him in a transport SUV with a Robeson County deputy at the wheel and another detention officer just providing security in the front seat. And he had, handcuffs on and leg shackles. This is an SUV that is not caged, but there's plexiglass that is separating the driver from the offender. And so halfway down I-40, they feel him kind of moving around a bit, and they pull the car over and look and say, he's got his leg braces completely detached. And that's when they found what looked like to be a very small homemade handcuff key. And obviously, he said to them, okay, I surrender. So obviously their guard was up, as it should have been the whole time. They get him to the Robeson County Courthouse. He's changed from his prison wear to a suit that he was putting on for the plea. That suit was thoroughly checked by courthouse officials, even ran through an x-ray. They couldn't find anything on him there. There's no body scanner. They have those in the detention center, but not in the courthouse. And so that might have made all the difference. So he goes through his plea, and they get ready to take him back to Central Prison. That's normal protocol before he is then transferred to another state facility to serve out his time. He's wearing that same suit. He gets in the same SUVs with the Robeson County deputy and the detention officer. And then really chaos ensued on I-40 in Johnston County when he basically used another key that he had on his person, the sheriff believes hidden under his tongue. And come to find out, he was able to undo his handcuff, reach his hand through the plexiglass, get his hand on one of the deputies' guns, struggle ensued. They pulled over another transport car behind that was providing security, ended up crashing into the back.
The prisoner has overtaken a prison guard and has his weapon. The murder suspect used extreme caution.
Big struggle ensued, and thankfully they pepper sprayed him very quickly to make sure that he didn't get that weapon. It could have been a lot worse.
Right. It really is just some amazing details there. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Chelsea, before the break, you were going through sort of the timeline that we have of these different escape attempts that he had. One on the way to court, one on the way back from court. Being in the newsroom on Friday, it was pretty amazing to watch these developments. We had Sky 5 over, and you could see the second attempt on the way back to Central Prison. The police cars or the deputy squad cars pulled over and then getting back on the road, eventually getting him to the prison again safely. So since then, what have Robeson County and Department of Corrections said about how he tried to escape and how deputies were ultimately able to stop him?
Yeah, so here's the interesting part. You know, the million-dollar question is, how did he make those homemade keys that are roughly a half an inch, and where did he get what appears to be some metal material and wiring to do so?
Yeah.
These transport cars are thoroughly checked. So we know that it had to have come inside Central Prison. When I talked to Central Prison about this, they said, you know, we're not sure. They have very little access to metal in terms of how they eat. They're eating with plastic sporks. And so the sheriff of Robeson County, though, says that he was told from Central Prison that he got the metal from an arts program that he had been doing for the past 6 years. And he basically put it kind of like, listen, he has had 6 years to figure out how to do this, and he had nothing to lose.
Right.
So what's interesting is how he stored those 2 keys, and if his clothing was thoroughly checked and his prison jumpsuit was checked, he would have probably had to have them in his body. And what the sheriff is saying is that they were under his tongue. So there was no way that they were going to be able to find them unless he went through a metal detector. Now, when he left the Raleigh Central Prison, he did not have to go through a metal detector. One of the things I asked too is, you know, how often do you guys search for contraband? You know, it's a periodic check through the housing unit. So not sure how it wasn't caught. But yeah, I mean, it's just the details are pretty unbelievable as to how he pulled this off, not once, but twice, and how, you know, we're very lucky that these law enforcement officers that are sort of charged with making sure that this is all done safely were not injured or killed.
Right. And what did the sheriff say about how his officers, or his deputies rather, were able to handle that situation?
Yeah, so when he gets picked up, obviously he's searched, the car is searched. And in terms of how when he first got the leg braces off, obviously they were keeping a close eye on him. They had planned for this. They knew he was a violent offender. So, you know, when they got to the courthouse, they, you know, did more checks, more than they probably normally would. And then when he got into that car and he opened that plexiglass window on the way back and got that gun, thankfully there was another guy ready to go with that pepper spray. Now, the sheriff admittedly says we need to get rid of this plexiglass system. Obviously, he was able to weasel himself out of the handcuffs, open the plexiglass, go right for the holster. No cameras in this SUV, no cameras on the deputy, so that will be a change. And he's also going to try to institute body scanners in his courthouse to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
Right. And so where is McLellan now that all of this has happened? Has this affected the custody level that he's being kept in?
Absolutely. So with not 1 but 2 escape attempts and the crime that he is convicted of, where he received life in prison, he was transferred on Friday after this whole debacle to the state's most highest security prison. And that is in Butner. It's not the federal prison, but it's Granville Correctional Institution. It's got about 400 inmates, and he's in a unit called HCON, which is the highest maximum security prison that is offered here in the state.
Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. We appreciate it. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email with triangled news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.